Welcome to the final section here of the 2018 Smark Out Moment Awards. We talked already in the previous 5 sections for the best and the worst of WWE. So let's flip this around and talk about the best and the worst that we gave you. Because, hey, let's be honest. Let's criticize ourselves and stuff like that too. And praise ourselves as well for the best. And there are less categories here this year than there were in any other kind of year because, we just haven't done the Did You Knows anymore. We don't do the outros anymore. And the t-shirts, I kind of figured, it's not really a point in doing a separate whole category for that again this year. In the interest of keeping things a little bit more streamlined, I kept it down to the best and the worst segment of the year, the best and the worst co-host of the year. Then I'm just going to round things out with my usual little bit of some info for people that are interested in year-end review kind of thing. So this is how this worked. This one actually had polls where you guys could vote. And the way that the best and the worst segment is the options were every single segment that we had done. Even if we did only one of them, it was available for you to vote for. And I gave people the option that they could vote for 5 because they could pick their favorite 5. And that way it's something where, the ones that get the most amount of votes are the ones that people do tend to like the best or dislike the best. Because if people had to pick one out of that option, we would have a lot of, I did this before, where it's a scenario where, one person really likes the Smark Out Moment Hall of Fame, and one person really likes One More Match, and one person really likes the Smack Talk Scramble, and then you end up with a ton of things that are just tied at number 1, or number 2, or, whatever the case may be like that. So, it works better as having the option where you can see more people voted for this than that, and so on and so forth. So, I will say that a lot of things got no votes, and this is because I honestly, to me, this year, I kind of fucked up a little bit when it came to the poll. I put it up a little bit too late. Usually I've been trying to put it up around the beginning of December, and I put it up around the middle of December, and since we're recording this just a week or so later, we only really had like a week for people to vote, so, this year, it doesn't really balance out the way that it should, but, this is how it ended up working, and then we're going to backtrack and we'll talk about our picks for this. What was voted the worst of the year when you factor in not getting any positive votes for that and getting more of the negative votes and stuff like that, the number 1 pick for the worst was the drinking game rules, which to me, I kind of don't understand why that was considered the worst. It was just 2 little harmless posts, but, whatever. It's not like I'm doing any more of them. They were the only 2 ideas I ever had. The Champs Giving tournament was up there, which, that was one of my potential picks because everybody kind of fucked it up, You do a tournament based off of pick the champion title reigns, and then people go, I'm going to vote specifically for other things. You ruin the point of the tournament, so that's on you guys, not on me. Couple other things that got higher up votes were the Sign Me Up, which admittedly not the most bombastic thing in the world, and the TV ratings reports, which to me, that is my least favorite of the year. I do not like doing the TV ratings, and I honestly, even though that's something that gives a little bit more content for the website, I don't think I'm going to do it in 2019. So if you guys had to go with your worst segment of the year, the thing you dislike the most, it's not as fun to do, you don't think it's executed all that well, what's your least favorite segment?
The ones that I had down, I'd vote for 3. The 2 of the 2 that you've mentioned of the drinking game rules, and that's because I don't drink. So
Neither do I.
I just found it kind of like it's pointless for me, so I didn't get any enjoyment out of it. I think it's okay as a concept, but it doesn't apply to me, so I didn't enjoy it. The TV ratings, because it's just like,
Yeah.
and I understand the reason why it's there, but I'm not going to check it out. So, and the one that's going to get me hate both here and outside of it is the mailbag. I love the fact that we let our fans talk about stuff, but I get to the point of like, maybe we should do it like quarterly, because I think it kind of restricts our ability to do other more fun, interesting, and different stuff, because we have to do one of those a month. And when WWE is putting on number of pay-per-view events, and there's other stuff that we do that have got set place in the calendar, I see it as a bit of a restriction. I love the fact that we do it, and I do appreciate the fact that people do send in questions every single month, and it's a good thing. But I just think that as someone who wants to just expand maybe with a few other creative ideas, just maybe limiting it to once every 2 months or something like that would make it a little bit more, would free us up a little bit more.
Totally valid argument.
Yeah, that was a really good argument against something that I had as one of my better ones. My least favorite is the Champsgiving, because I had so much high hopes for what we could do there, and it just ended up being a mess. And another one is the TV ratings. Now this for me is different because I work for WrestleZone and I see the same ratings pop up. So when I get the notification on Discord and Twitter that, oh, more Raw rating posts, I'm like, oh god. So I just immediately exit out. I don't usually even retweet it or anything. And that's why those two really were the weakest segments for me.
Now, to tout ourselves when it comes to the good things, the best segments of the year, the couple picks that were towards the top were, one of them that was around the top was the Sexiest Superstars tournament. Makes a lot of sense. Gets a lot of people interested in a lot of different ways. Battle of the Brands was up towards the top too. Let me put it this way. Here are the ones that got somewhat decent amounts of votes when it comes to the weighted scales and stuff. The WWE hierarchy, the power rankings, predictions and post-show reviews, the pay-per-view point stuff, Future Endeavors forecast, the fan outs table, commentaries, Battle of the Brands. They were all kind of all lumped together. The Sexy Superstars tournament was in a level above that, along with the current and future champions list. And then we have our top two levels, which were Mount Rushmore, was kind of the runner-up, and tied in first place are Play the Game, generally speaking, and the Mailbag. I voted for a couple different things here. I didn't vote for fantasy booking, but I like doing fantasy booking. And I didn't vote for, I think it was the pay-per-view predictions, but that's just like because I get tired of doing them every once in a while and stuff. I do like Play the Game a lot. That's up there. I'm a big fan of the Sexy Superstars tournament because it's just kind of fun to do something completely different. But I gotta say, my actual top four that I had voted for were the fan outs table, because I love doing the commentaries. I'm still a big fan of Call the Spot on the card. I like ranking people. And my real top two were the two of the top towards the voting side, which were the Mailbag, because I really like doing that. When we get really good questions, I really like doing it. When we get a lot where I have to sift through, it's a little bit more of a chore, but I still really like the Mailbag. Yet my pick for my favorite thing of the year is actually the Mount Rushmore. I really liked how that worked out, and I want to do a whole lot more of them in 2019.
Well, good, because my top pick was the Mount Rushmore, because that allowed us to really be wrestling fans. We didn't have to talk about, what's happening on our screens on pay-per-view. We didn't have to talk about, wrestling news. It was just, hey, let's, go back and enjoy the history of it. So that was my top pick. Other than that, I like to Play the Game. I like the Mailbag, even though I 100% agree with Callum. We would be allowed to do so much more if we did them, every other month, even. And as a guilty pleasure, just because I like watching people give Tony such a hard time, I like the heel and face turn.
God damn it.
That is good.
It's just so much fun.
I love your ramblings and ravings about it. That's stuff like, I think this guy's turned heel. Something's happened with this person.
Oh, God, it drives me crazy. We're going to talk more about this too, because I have something else to bring up about that. a little bit later.
But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's it for me.
So the 5 that I chose, I guess I'd put them in some sort of order. I voted for the power rankings, which is selfish because I write them. But damn it, I'm good at my job. And I deserve to get a vote for myself for it, because give myself a pat on the back for it. Pay-per-view predictions, they're kind of the bread and butter, really. And it's nice to have some sort of like just stable format that we just keep going back to. And I like just analysing, do it, even if we do sometimes just overanalyze stuff a little bit too much. But I find it fun. It's an interesting conversation. And then the top 3 are the play the game. Really just dig the concept. And just the fact that it just gives a chance to just like shoot the shit, have a few little just funny gags in there. Finance table is it's just a great thing. I know how time consuming it is to actually put it together, but when we do have the opportunity to just sit down, watch an old pay-per-view, notice things that we may not have noticed other times that we watched them before, talk about the history a little bit surrounding it, it's just really great. And the number 1 is just echoing you guys. Mount Rushmore is the best introduction we made in 2018. Again, it's just a really good discussion over a set topic where we get to just explore wrestling history, what's currently going on. And yeah, I can't wait to do more of those in 2019.
And now that I know that people like it, and all 3 of us are real big fans of it, guaranteed we're going to figure out some ways to throw some more Mount Rushmores in there. Whether it's a theme for that particular time, like, you know, we did with Evolution, we did the Mount Rushmore women, or if we have no real theme to go on and we're just kind of like, fuck it, we want to talk about the Mount Rushmore of tag teams. The hell with it. Let's just do it sometimes, you know? That moves us over into, and by the way, everybody, if you have not voted yet, too bad as far as like, you know, what counts, but I am going to keep the responses open, so you can still vote for a while, because, you know, I'm curious to see what other kind of votes go along with that. But as far as the 22nd is when we're recording this, that is where my votes are counting, 5 o'clock on the 22nd. So that applies as well to the best and the worst co-host of the year. And a lot of different people that were eligible that did at least one episode. And here's an unfortunate thing that came along with the voting, where people, I guess if they wanted to vote for the best and the worst segment, but they didn't want to vote for the best and worst co-host, they just didn't care. And because it was a requirement that you had to vote, the way that the Google Forms work, if I don't set that as a required thing that you have to vote for, people can put number 1 down for everybody or number 2 down for everybody. And it's just a problem with the Google form. And people decided that they didn't want to actually go through and do any of that. So people were voting in a diagonal line, which, you know what? That disqualified your answers, because you clearly didn't actually care. And I had the option that I've had in the past couple of years where you could vote for your top 2 favorite and your top 2 least favorite. And people were voting just who was the top 2 listed alphabetically. So I knew that it just happened to go in a diagonal line and it was a coincidence. These people were just literally going, well, I need to put 1 on each line. Let me just go in a diagonal line and stuff. So again, this is the same kind of thing as the Champs Giving. I give you guys the option. If you want to abuse the option, I'm not going to give you the option anymore, and we're not going to do this kind of a thing. So keep that in mind if you're one of those people that voted for that. And if you did that because you just wanted to vote on the segment section and you don't listen to Smack Talk, let me know, because then I could put a different poll up next year, and then you can avoid that. But you fuck over the polls, and then you're not going to get polls anymore. However, thankfully enough people voted where they didn't just kind of cop out, and I've got my weighted list here of how people ranked, and I'm going to go from bottom to top here. The number 10 out of number 10, as far as scores go, was Braden Mayhew. Braden had been a big part of Smark Out Moment for a while, and yeah, he went off to college, and, you know, it's just one of those things. So Braden was able to pop up a couple times this year. He's not been around a whole lot, so I can understand why he didn't get, you know, the most amount of votes. Number 9 was Peyton. I know that Peyton's got his, you know, opinions that sometimes rub people the wrong way and all that. And he hasn't been a part of things all that much this year. So, hey, if you're a fan of Peyton does his stuff over at Peyton's Place. So check that stuff out. Number 8 was Jordan, who has not been around a whole lot, but she did pop up here and there for a couple different things. The Sexy Superstars tournament, I think she was a part of maybe once or twice, and a couple different reviews and such. A lot of this was weighted on how long people had like popped up and how familiar they were and all that too. So Jonathan Maldonado was number 7. Not too much to talk about there. John was on like 2 episodes or something. Dace was on a couple episodes. He got number 6, and he's an old standard bearer, so you get a little bit of extra boost when it comes to that. Number 5 was Drew. Drew's one of those, you give him some noogies and, pick on him, but you love the kid. Wago was number 4 with 111 points. I haven't been given the points, but for instance, point-wise, lowest Braden was 56. And so you go 56, 60, 56, 58, 61, 68, 85, 106 for Drew, 111 for Wago. For 120 points at number 3 is Caroline. I think a lot of people loved her participation in the Sexy Superstars tournament, and she has permanently burned in my brain the unseasoned chicken thing. And we've got our top 2 on the podcast here. So
whatever happens, Rob, don't fuck me over.
Okay.
I will say the weighted scale pointing system. Yeah, it's just people pointing. The number 2 was 165 points, and the number 1 was 190 points. And the difference essentially was a 1 vote difference of people voting for number 1 place and number 2 place. And that's obviously a good thing, because it means that, basically almost tied and stuff. And with the 190 score, the number 1 ranked is Rob.
Well,
absolutely deserved.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Callum should.
I was gonna say, yeah, I do deserve it. Yeah,
maybe get it. But if I didn't at least rank in the top 2, then everything I've done for the last 12 months was a bit of a weird time. But I love doing what I do here, and since the preview of the Royal Rumble, I've tried to be on every single one that I can, and working with Tony is an absolute blast, and he's one of my favorite people. And Callum may be the most knowledgeable person about pro wrestling that I personally know, so it's always a good time to talk to him. And this has been really fun.
I've obviously, just want to say, like, Rob totally deserves the win. Like, he's on. Obviously, it's down to a timing factor mainly for me, in the fact that I work on a very different time schedule to these two. Not to take anything away from them in the fact that they can appear on more podcasts and stuff like that, because Rob gets involved in the hot tags more often. He's been involved in more pay-per-view reviews and stuff like that. So he definitely deserves it for just the longevity and the appearances that he's made over the course of last year. I had my moment in the sun last year. Well deserved, I might add, obviously. And I definitely deserve 2nd place here, at the very least, obviously. Although Caroline, I think, will give me a run for money if she decides to turn up for more podcasts next year. If she ever escapes the confines of the Sexy Superstar tournament and starts just watching wrestling week to week, I mean, God help her if she does decide to start watching wrestling week to week, because she'll probably drive.
She is so fucking fun to watch wrestling with, because she's just like, I don't know, like somebody will come out there and they'll do something and she'll just be like, "Ew," and it's like, what? Look at him. He looks gross and stuff. Like, it's just.
Yeah, so if she ever does do any more stuff, then I think she'd give me and Rob a lot more of a run for our money. But yeah, it's been a fun year. It's as much as there's anything else really. It's fun to just talk to these two guys about professional wrestling in a way where we understand that the product has not been at the greatest standards for 2018. But if we can unload a little bit of just humor and common sense and add a bit of fun to wrestling that wrestling may not be giving you on a week-to-week basis, then it's kind of worth it at the end of the day.
In many ways, it's an outlet because we
Yeah.
can talk about the stuff we love. We can rant about the stuff we hate. Maybe I need to change this to Smark Outlet Moment. I don't know.
It's an outlet for us, and I hope that it translates to become an outlet for everyone that listens to this as well.
Yeah, and that's where kind of we take into the year in review side of things. I'm not going to bog everybody down in details of being like, well, we started off with 3,000 something whatever subscribers on YouTube and ended up with an extra 600 something on this side, and I'm percent increase and all the other kind of stuff that I've done before. Nobody really cares. I will say though, we had an increase in views obviously this year because more people clicked on it than if nobody would have clicked on it this year, we would have had the same kind of a thing and stuff. But we got about there has been a big hit on Google this year where they changed the algorithm, so that changed a lot of things up and all that. So there wasn't as much progress this year as there should have been, which is kind of a shame, especially on like my wallet. That's why I keep mentioning the Patreon all the time and stuff like that. But, we had a thing this year that happened with YouTube switching people over with watch time and demonetizing a lot of things and stuff. And you guys pulled through, and an increase in subscribers, an increase in watch time on certain things, and saved that from going under. So many, many thanks when it comes to that. If you're asking about the changes that we had introduced this year, some of them were the drinking game rules, which again I mentioned, it's just a little fun side thing. And if anybody's like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want to have that be a regular thing, those are literally the only 2 ideas I ever had about it. So you're not going to get it again next year. It's just going to be, those are little staples on the website. We will see a lot more Mount Rushmores because we're big fans of those. I actually really liked One More Match, and I definitely want to do another One More Match at some point this year. Tap Out was a new addition to Play the Game, and that one can be kind of fun. It's hard to set up, but, whatever. If you follow e-wrestling news, I started doing, I think Heat Index was new this year, and I know that the Round Table was new, but that's e-wrestling news. It's a different side of things. Champsgiving was new this year, and that didn't go over as well as it was supposed to, so maybe Champsgiving returns next year, maybe with some tweaks. Maybe it doesn't at all. I don't know. And a couple different new t-shirt designs and stuff that you guys should be interested in. If you are, then check out the TeePublic and the Redbubble and buy some stuff over there. If you want to know the top post of the year and the top video of the year, the top video as far as views was actually our TLC predictions, which is kind of interesting. Wouldn't have thought that would have been the top viewed one. As far as watch time goes, it was Crown Jewel Sucked, the pay-per-view post show. That's one of my favorite ones throughout the year as far as passion goes. So check that out if you haven't checked it out already. Top post of the year, which destroyed everything else by over 140,000 views, more than the next ranked. Heel and face turns. I don't know what was going on this year. This year, you guys were obsessed with the heel and face turns, and I get an email for every comment that's on Smark Out Moment, and Fanboys Anonymous for that matter. And I would get a comment after damn near everything that anybody would do, and it'd be like, oh, look at that, Stephanie McMahon, she's a babyface now, because she said, welcome everybody. And it's like, whoa, relax, to the point where I had to put up something which was a sticky comment on there of like, all right, if it just happened, give me a couple minutes. Because sometimes it's like in the middle of cutting a promo, people are like, Becky Lynch is a heel now. And it's just like, she hasn't even finished talking yet. Relax. But a lot of other times are like, do you think that this person turned heel or face just because there was a slight hint at something like that? There are so many people that are obsessed with that, which I love the passion behind it, but you guys are going to drive me fucking crazy at the same time. What's weird about this is not only was this easily the top post of this entire year, like I said, by over 140,000 more views than the next one, it is the third most viewed thing on the entire history of the website now. This year's heel and face turns is the number 3 thing. The site is almost 10 years old. Over the course of 10 years, only 2 other things have gotten more views than this year's heel and face turns. That's how crazy you guys were. And those two things are, number 2, the current champions list, which is a staple article that is literally year long, and it's the same article every single year perpetually. And the number 1 thing is the perpetual WWE pay-per-view schedule that I change every year. So almost as many people were interested in the heel and face turns this year as who were the champions, who I think is going to be the next champions, and what are the pay-per-views coming out from the past 10 years combined. That is insane. But I love the dedication, I love the passion, and I love the clicks. So I will try my best. I know people had put it out there. They said, we want the turn alert to come back. I'll try. But if every time somebody turns heel or face, it becomes like, the turn alert didn't pop up in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to be like, relax, That's all I got for the year in review. This was a struggle of a year in a lot of ways as a fan of pro wrestling because of how much it was annoying. And it was honestly, it's been a struggle this year as far as the money side of things because of the Google algorithms changing. And, I honestly did not make as much money as I did at the beginning of the year now because things keep changing and stuff. So that's really kind of scary in a lot of different ways and stuff. And who knows what's happening in 2019. But we still had a lot of fun. Still dedicated to this whole side of things. Smark Out Moment's not going anywhere, and if I have anything to say about it. So I guess I just want to wrap up by saying thank you to everybody who gave some kind of support to Smark Out Moment in 2018. Whether you're somebody who leaves the comments on the YouTube channel, you check us out on iTunes and Stitcher, you check the website articles out, you leave comments there, you like things, you favorite things, you share them with your friends and post them online, because, hey, if you share a link on a message board, it gets a lot of views our way, and the more that we get going our way, the more that we can do for you guys, because, the more resources we have, the more time I can dedicate to it, all the positives that come along with that. Even if you're the type of person who drives me crazy with the heel and face turn kind of things, I do like getting those. If I didn't get those kind of responses anymore because people just weren't clicking on it, that would be a sad type of way to get away with it. So, many, many thanks to all the supporters for Smark Out Moment. Same thing when it comes to Fanboys Anonymous. I know I don't do any kind of big end of the year type thing with that, but for showing your support for that, like Guest 5, for instance, I know that you're always checking out the movie reviews and stuff like that. So many thanks, man. And thumbs up in a lot of different ways. So, any other thoughts you guys have to say about just to cap us off for the end of the year and all the other kind of things that are happening with that?
I'll let Callum go first.
Well, just echoing Tony with just an overall thanks to everyone who's listened in and checked out articles that myself, Rob, Tony, and all the other writers on Smark Out Moment have put together over the years. We do this because we're passionate about wrestling. We don't obviously make any. Well, Tony only makes a small amount of money. The rest of us don't really make anything out of it, but we like getting our point across, and we appreciate the platform that we do get to put it across. So it's been a good year for that. WWE-wise, it's been a pretty terrible year in terms of just like enjoyment of the product going down, and that's obviously part of reasons why certain things may not have climbed as high as we'd expected them to, because we understand if fan interest is low at the moment because they're not delivering what you want to see and they're not delivering what we want to see. But hopefully you'd be able to keep checking us out, and maybe we can be your escape or outlet or something to just tell you what's going on instead of you having to sit and endure it. But obviously in these awards, we only talk about WWE. For overall professional wrestling, it's been a mixed bag. There's been some really good stuff in New Japan and the independent circuit and stuff like that as well, which obviously me and Rob would probably give a lot of awards to if we had the opportunity to, but we understand WWE's the bread and butter. That's what gets the most attention. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun this year on the podcast and looking forward to seeing it continue and hopefully potentially introducing a few other things down the road as well. I don't want to make promises like Drew's YouTube channel and stuff like that, and which never happens, but but I'll say that I will endeavour to make the things that I have in my head a reality in the next year. So stay tuned for that.
And
Over
for
to you, Rob.
me, so this year is a year that literally took me from I think I can't watch anymore for personal reasons to this is my full-time job. And a lot of that is, no, well, I'm being modest. All of that is due to the tremendous friendship of Tony Mango. So I am eternally grateful for that. This is by far the most fun I have with wrestling, and I will always do these podcasts as long as Tony keeps doing them. I'm looking forward to 2019, and I can't wait to see what we have on the horizon. And maybe, just maybe, the Sexiest Superstars tournament does become the Alexa Bliss Invitational.
There's a chance the way that she's been dominating that thing. You know, she's undefeated in 7 categories now, twice. Like, so there's a lot of things as a potential for this next year. I had put up a questionnaire, the survey feedback kind of form that I usually do, and you guys can vote if you want to be giving us the information of what you would like to see improved in 2019. We have a lot of ideas of different things to go forward that we might be able to do because, hey, I had mentioned the Mount Rushmore multiple different times as like, man, I really would like to do a Mount Rushmore thing. We finally got around to doing it this year. One of them was play the game in 2017. We finally got around to doing. This year coming up, I would love to do, just to give you guys a little bit of a spoiler, some things that are, potentially in the works. I know that a lot of people have voted that they really like the idea of, which I don't like the name of it, so I'm going to tweak that, but it's labeled HOF or not, like HOF or not, but that just doesn't make any sense. So it's Hall of Fame or not. If somebody were to retire right now, are they good enough to be in the Hall of Fame? That's something I know a lot of people have voted on that they really would like to see. I do really want to do split crowd where we debate something and it's actually like somebody has to pick like a judge between the two of them. I really want to do Time Machine Dream Team, which was pitched by Rob as Time Machine Dream Match, and then Jordan kind of messed it up as Time Machine Dream Team, and then that's how we ended up coming across that. I like the idea of something called Turn the Tables, which is somebody gives you an idea that switches things up and you have to try to go along with it. Like if I were to pitch, say, we're not going to do it right now, but if I was like, all right, Callum, your idea is in 1995, Mabel doesn't win King of the Ring. It's actually Steve Austin comes in earlier and wins. How does the Ringmaster become King of the Ring? And then it's like, whoa, I have to try to figure out how that would work. Like, that seems like a decent idea. Just on the weird crossover with Fanboys Anonymous side of things, Awesome Piano Man suggested the idea of repackage the movie, where you recast a movie with WWE stars. That seems like that could be a lot of fun. I've got 2 games for Play the Game of Would You Rather and Who Am I that I want to try to do. We've got Rob's idea of the Smark Out Moment Writer's Room. We've got Making the Case, where somebody tries to tell you to do like a devil's advocate type of thing and you have to argue the point of view. So if I were to say like, all right, Rob, you have to argue that the best of all time is Barry Horowitz, then it's like you got to do your best to try to argue it and convince people. There's a lot of different things that could be popping up. Some of them similar topics to what we've had before, like over under. Some of them completely different. And on top of that, I definitely want to try to figure out how to do live shows. So if we can figure that out, one of the main things in 2019 will be live post shows and potentially all talk show type of environments that we can do scrambles, or we could do free for all kind of open discussions. There's a lot of things that are kind of in the works, and the more support that you guys have for that, the more that we can do some of those things. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, could I add, just so it gives me a bit more motivation to get it started, just throw the ideas out there, because I was going to try and keep them close to my chest, but I might as well get out there and see what you guys' response is. I've had some ideas for some retro-related podcasts, because I'm a big fan of a lot of podcasts that dig into the history of professional wrestling. So I've had the idea of something called 2001: A Wrestling Odyssey, which is essentially a look back in 2001 as one of the most pivotal years in wrestling history. And us and the guys would just do a month by month breakdown of just every single month in 2001, and then just like review the big news stories and check out some of the big events that took place in that time, and just like shoot the shit really, and just like see how it impacted and how it's looked back on. Was it now 18 years later? And another one is something called Top of the Feud Chain, which would be essentially looking back at some of the major storylines and rivalries in WWE and other promotions' history. Just essentially trying to rank which is the greatest feud in professional wrestling history by looking into each one in all its finer details, looking at the best matches, best moments, best angles, and just trying to eventually get some sort of league table sorted of which one was the best one. So I just wanted to throw those out there just because it gives me a bit of motivation. And along those sort of lines, even though he's been at the helm for quite a lot of time, you might not see Tony as the host of some of these ones going forward. If me and Rob ever get our acts together and actually learn how to do this fucking stuff,
that'll be a good change of pace too.
We might decide to relieve him of some of his duties so he can just be on our side of things, where he gets to just put his feet up and just react to stuff, as opposed to being the guy formatting all of the things as well.
Yeah, it'd be good for Tony to get some rest.
You know that's not happening. Me and Rest go together like Brock Lesnar and showing up and doing a good performance.
Like our fans in the Rest Hold.
Yeah. I bet everybody's happy that they couldn't vote for Rest Hold this year because we didn't do it this year. Yeah, so go ahead and drop your comments below, everybody. Tell us your thoughts on Smark Out Moment for the 2018 year, your things you loved, the things you didn't love all that much, and vote on the feedback. It's on the sidebar of smarkoutmoment.com. That's where you can find that form. Fill it out and let me know what you want us to try to do in 2019, and, we'll try to do it because we're all in the interest of trying to make better things better and worse things good. And, that's kind of the name of the game. So we will see you all in 2019. For those who celebrate Christmas and, all the different holiday type things, there's 1,000 holidays going around right now. Happy holidays to everybody, including a happy new year. Stay safe. Keep your nose to the ground. All the other kind of things that we can give you as far as that goes. And we will see you in 2019 with the one to watch and the future endeavors forecast. That's happening the next time around. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.